the Quinn Marr Show.
This show is brought to you by Bing Pot Trivia. How many times have you been to a trivia night where it just felt like somebody reading questions? Well, Bing Pot Trivia prides themselves on bringing high-energy, dynamic hosts to every event. The show leans heavily on visual elements. Their questions are designed to make you laugh or roll your eyes, while also challenging your knowledge on pop culture, high school science, culinary arts, and everything in between. Their typical show runs 5 rounds, including a photo round, general knowledge on pop culture, riffs on different game shows, absurd 50-50 questions, and a super sweet music round. Check out bingpottrivia.com today to book your trivia night. Again, that is at bingpottrivia.com. Tell my boy Danny that your friend Quinn sent you. All right, let's get on with the show. My next guest is a Juno-nominated artist. From releasing the song in the summer to performing in front of Gene Simmons to taking a 10-year hiatus, you can say they've done it all. But most importantly, creating the song that became the anthem of my grade 7 school year. It's a pleasure to welcome to the Quinn Marr Show, lead singer of Stereos, Patrick Kordyback. Pat, what's going on?
What's going on, man? Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. So, just to get into it, obviously, band Stereos, and I just mentioned it, you guys have basically, I've grown up with you guys as like the big band, especially being from Canada. So it's really cool to be able to talk to you. So just to like kind of start off, I know you guys started in about 2006 is when you first started the band. Yeah. Okay. So before that, like music growing up and like as a kid, like what kind of role did that play for you?
I would say, good question. I think music was probably pretty similar in my life up until the age of 13 or 14 as it is for most people. I loved music always, but I don't think I was ever obsessive about it, or definitely never even considered it as something I would do. But I do, like I've told the story before, but my mom actually will tell stories of how I would listen to songs on the radio as a very young kid and start humming my own melodies over existing songs and being like, what are you singing? And just being like, I don't even know, but that's what I hear. And so I think that kind of is a precursor to what ended up being, my passion with songwriting and melody writing, especially. But I don't think I was ever, exceptionally into music until around the age of 14.
Yeah. Okay. That's really cool. Okay. So obviously the Stereos is you, Miles, Robert, Daniel, and Aaron. So
Daniel's no longer with us. He's one of our best friends in the world. In fact, he just teched our latest show and tour managed it, but he's not in the band anymore.
Okay. So but originally it was you guys.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So and we said it was about 2006. So were you guys like all buddies like growing up?
No, not at all. And so, like even in 2006, man, it was just Rob, Dan, and myself. We didn't really have a band yet. We just kind of had an idea. And so we would literally just hang out. Rob and I would watch the Oilers Cup run that was happening at that time.
That's sick.
And Dan hated it because he's not a hockey fan and he wanted to get work done and like start like working on songs and stuff. And we would be so distracted for an entire summer. But yeah, it was more just like literally, and I honestly to this day think it was just as important as writing songs. We would just like brainstorm. And I remember Dan would call me on his way home he would be working a night shift and I'd be coming home from my girlfriend's home, like place at night. And we would just talk for hours, man. I would pull over on the drive home just to talk about like, man, what if we all like only wore black? Or what if we only like, what if we all got like as tattooed as possible when we played these pop songs? And it was just like hashing out what honestly ended up being the idea for Stereos in those days. And it wasn't until later that Miles came along, and then Aaron, we didn't meet actually until we already moved out to Toronto.
Oh, okay. That's sweet. So before you guys went on disband, you guys were under the name Stand By Me. Where did that name come from?
Hey, man. So
I'm assuming the movie?
Yeah, the movie and the song. So because the way we started transitioning into writing pop songs as this like pop punk band was our mutual love for like 50s and 60s Motown.
Oh, that's cool.
And once I started kind of like dissecting those songs, I realized how not easy it is to write songs, because it's not, but how simple chord progressions as a backdrop for very, very catchy vocal melodies was the way to go. And so we had this almost like 50s influence sound, like especially with a lot of our like early songs. And so that kind of made its way into Summer Girl, which is not 50s at all, but the chorus doo-wop, doo-wop was a way of me trying to keep that 50s flavor that was every other song into this new sound I was kind of working on at the time. So long way of answering your question, but Stand By Me was inspired by both the movie and the song, and how this whole like 50s nostalgia thing played really heavily into the early days of what Stereos became, for sure.
That's sweet. So I was doing some research on it, but can you just kind of give the listeners a like description of the show Disband?
Oh, of course. Yeah. So a lot of people think we won this show, which is actually not the case. A bunch of different bands were given this like week in the music industry where you go on Much Music. You have a guru who's Greg Norrie, very accomplished, awesome guy. He kind of discovered Sum 41. His own band, Treble Charger, did really well as well. And he kind of, he hears your songs. He chooses like which ones are good, which ones are bad. He helps you work on them. You record a song, you do a photo shoot, and then at the end, you have a performance for a panel of judges. And they tell you whether or not you're good or not. And so we were one of many bands to just get this thumbs up. Yeah, you guys are good. But from there, they realized that they had something special with us, and they decided we were, I think, the third band to shoot this TV show. Oh. And yeah, like we were one of the first.
Yeah.
But right away after our performance, we got the thumbs up, just like a bunch of other bands. They're like, listen, these labels all want to meet with you guys. Like there's something serious going on here. Like stay in Toronto for a while. And so then they saved our episode, which was shot in the fall of 2008. And it didn't air until May of 2009 as the season finale, because those like, I'm not a math guy, but I don't know, man, like 7-8 months that went by, they had us like working on stuff and like getting, stuff in the works to have this crazy, finale of the show.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
So before I'm going to get into like the rest of the show, but how did you guys get on the show to begin with? Like, how does that work?
Hey man, it's such a funny anecdote with how the music industry truly works. And it was nothing more than a guy who worked with Greg Norrie. He was like kind of his right-hand man. He's a sick dude. His name was Matt Brand. He was actually Avril Lavigne's drummer.
Oh, no way.
Management company. And they were honestly just hitting MySpace, finding bands. And they were actually checking out a different band that played with us. And so they went to our profile and they're like, oh, this band's kind of cool. And I don't even know what songs we would have had on our MySpace, man. They wouldn't have been that good. But we started this conversation where we were trying to find a way for Greg Norrie to produce our band, get out to Toronto and produce it. And so for months we were sending him songs with like no real way of knowing how we were going to work with this guy. Like, it cost money. And then he called us one day. I remember him so well, dude. He called us up one day. I missed the call because we were all playing football like in the backyard. And I listened to my voicemail and he says, I've just been approached to like host this like Much Music show with unsigned bands. We finally found our way to kind of get you guys involved. And it wasn't even a slam dunk yet, man. Like it was, then they called us back and like, listen, none of the other bands are from outside Ontario. Like they don't have a budget for the bands. Like we have nowhere for you guys to stay. And I was like, man, say less. Like we have been sleeping in our van in Walmart parking lots for 10 years now. Like we got it. If you let
what's another few months? That's so sick.
Anything it takes, man, to get on. And I remember saying to the band at that time, I was like, and this sounds made up, it sounds arrogant, but I just knew, man. I said, we're going to go on the show. We're going to be the best ones. And Much Music is going to make us like their band.
That's so insane because like you said, it wasn't even a slam dunk yet. Like, but you guys had your foot in the door, but you still had that feeling like, shit, like, no, this is it. Like, we got it. That's all we needed was a foot in the door.
I just knew it, man. All those
like, a chance.
We went through so many band members being just a local band in Edmonton playing to no one, man, where all these guys are like, why do you have to practice every night? You guys take this too seriously. Like we have girlfriends, we have jobs. Like, I don't want it. Like, and so people would just leave and we were relentless, man. We were like very, very much a DIY punk rock band because that's the scene we grew up in. And so by the time I think we got that one just spark that we needed, we ran with it.
I was just watching the promo of the season finale that you guys were on. Yeah. And it is just crazy because like, the fact that, I mean, it's cool. It was really cool that you guys had Gene Simmons as your guest, but like right after that, they literally just brought you into a room and said, here you go. This is it. And you signed something.
So no, okay. Like
that's how they showed it.
Oh dude. And not your fault. Cause that's how the TV shows it. Right. Like okay. This performance, like you guys better do well. Gene Simmons is here. We don't even know if we have a show for you guys, dude. We had already been signed for like 2 months because like,
so anticlimactic.
Well, yeah.
And for you guys, at least. Obviously, they made it look crazy for TV, but for you
it was so cool for us. Like, obviously, like the TV cameras being there and everything, kind of solidifying everything. But in the real world, you know, you have to have a lawyer look at your deal. You know, you have to have like stuff like that. So it was we were already signed. But a lot of that show, like I do talk about disband a lot, obviously, but there's the first half up until we get the thumbs up from the judges. That is all 100% real, man. It gives me chills watching it because I see that kid like just so hungry for this shot. It's all genuine, man. It is like stars in his eyes. He just wants that like more than anything. But then the second half, I won't lie, a lot of that is acting. You can kind of, if you go back and watch it now, like you can kind of hear like the lines are not that genuine and all that stuff. And it was set up to kind of tell the story of the band, which was real, but a lot of it, you know, it's like, okay, you guys say this, you say this. We'll build tension around this show. Like there's a point where it's like, come out to Toronto. I got you a show. And I'm like taking this phone call. I'm like, oh, we're on our way. And dude, he's making the call and the camera's upstairs. And I'm in the basement in Toronto in the house. Like, oh, we'll be right there.
I got to check to see if they have the full episodes on YouTube because I want to go back and watch it.
Dude, it's on Apple Music. And
is it?
It's one of my only like actual purchases that I have on Apple Music, and it's the disband episode.
That's sick. So it's funny because you guys were Stand By Me, but then it was Greg who told you to change it for copyright issues, and then you change it to Turn It Up, which didn't last long either. So where was the name Turn It Up from? Like, where'd you guys get that one from? Literally, like Turn Up Music.
Dude, I don't even know. I don't even think we had the song Turn It Up yet. I don't.
No, you wouldn't. No, yeah, you technically. I mean, you wouldn't have released it. I know that for sure because of.
I didn't release it, and it wasn't written. So, like Summer Girl, for example, Summer Girl, I wrote that when we were Stand By Me and still lived in Edmonton, like at least a year and a half before the TV show. But Turn It Up was one that we wrote with our now drummer Aaron after we'd already moved out there. So I don't even know where Turn It Up came in. I thought we had so many bad band names when we signed our deal. Okay, like you know how I said we signed a few months before the TVs caught it.
Yeah.
We were called City Kids, which is the stupidest fucking name ever. Like it sounds like a charity, you know, and like it's a very bad band name. So and I'm always asked like, well, how'd you get Stereos? I don't even know, man. I think we'd just been brainstorming for so long with our manager. Like we'd go to Universal and like work with people there and be like, yeah, what's the name? And like just I don't know. There's
and then I read that a rep from Universal told you guys to change your name again, and then that's where you got Stereos.
That's probably true. I honestly like a lot of that's murky to me, but the Turn It Up one, I remember as soon as we changed it, we got like a nothing official, but like a DM on again MySpace from this like hardcore band from New York, and they're like, yo, we're already Turn It Up. Like we'll get our lawyer after you. And in retrospect, I bet you they did not have a lawyer.
No,
but
they're just trying to scare you guys.
Yeah, well,
it might have worked.
They could have it.
When you guys had your MySpace, because like I'm 27, so like I just had it like when I was really really young for a couple of years. Yeah. You guys obviously did you have your music playing on your profile?
Oh yeah.
That was the thing. That and your top friends.
Top friends, man, that was a big deal. I remember like not meaning to break up with a girl because I took her out of my top friends, but it ended up being what broke us up for sure. MySpace was it was a heck of a time, man.
I have an older sister, so she's the one who like got me on it, and so like none of my friends, because we were so little, like had it. So literally, my top friends were her and then her friends, because I didn't have any. None of my friends had it, so I looked like a loser. So I needed something.
Or you looked like a baller, man.
That's true. I just had all girls as my friends. Yeah. As a 9-year-old, all girls.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I'll take that narrative. That's better. But we just talked about disband. And then performing for Gene Simmons. I don't know if you were a Kiss fan, but like that, either way, that had to been sick, no?
Yeah, it was really sick. Like our drummer's a big Kiss fan, so he was stoked on it. I was less starstruck by it and just kind of thought, man, this is another cool thing. I think that one of the best things about myself and this band is also kind of one of the bad things. And it's that we always were so hungry and believed, like we never wanted to be the best band in Edmonton. We never wanted to be the best band in Alberta or even in Canada. We always thought we had what it took to be the biggest band in the world.
Right.
And, you know, obviously we didn't get there, but meeting people like Gene Simmons, like it never really fazed me, to be completely honest with you. I don't think I didn't appreciate it. Like being like, oh man, that's cool. We met Gene Simmons today. Like that's wild. But I don't think
you weren't up at night thinking about it.
No, man, exactly. Like, and any of the performances, the disband performance, any of the big, like make it or break it moments, I've never felt like the moment was too big for me. I always felt it's like, man, this is where I belong. Let's go.
That's sweet. That's awesome. Because I'd be the exact opposite. I'd be shitting my pants.
I thought I would be, I think. But no, I think you fake it till you make it for so long that once you kind of get there, you're like, yeah, Man, I've pictured this moment in my dreams, and every time we've rehearsed in the basement, I pictured myself on a big stage anyway. So
Yeah.
now it's time.
Hey, manifesting is a real thing, man.
It certainly was with us.
Yeah. So like you said, it was a little anticlimactic for like the TV show, or for you guys, how you'd signed the deal, and then months later it was announced that you signed the deal.
Yeah.
So within those few months, actually, after signing it, how crazy was that? Was it like a lot of different ways you were being like pulled or taken? Like how did that work?
Yeah, it's like very much the calm before the storm, man. Like it's, we actually were doing this residency, it's called, at a place called Supermarket, downtown Toronto, where every Wednesday, I think it was, we would play to no one, or if anyone wanted to show up. And the point is obviously to get your legs underneath you, play live, but also Universal would be like, this new signing we have, they're playing once a week. So A&R got people, anyone, like you want to. And there'd be some Wednesdays where some people would show up, we played to 20 people, and there'd be some where none showed up and we played to no one. So there was a lot of that. It's just like a lot of inside baseball, man, like weird industry stuff. Obviously, so when Disband aired our season finale, it had like commercials going for weeks, like watch the band, like blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people tuned into the show. And this was the genius, I would say, between Universal and Much Music, is they had it set up so that at the end of our episode, the music video played and it said where you could buy it on iTunes. Ooh. And so, dude, like you literally will never, ever, ever be able to create an impact like that again.
That is so smart, because at the time, Much Music was so big.
100%, man.
That's
so
insane.
We ended up being the first song to knock off "I Got a Feeling" by Black Eyed Peas from the #1 spot on iTunes.
And that song was huge,
dude, and it set records for how long it was #1, and then we knocked it off, and it was fucked, man. It was crazy how quickly that all happened because of that. And so, sorry to answer your question though, the months preceding that was a lot of that planning, right? We shot the video, and it was funny because none of the extras knew who the fuck we were, because we hadn't been announced yet. They're like, I guess we're in this video, and it was a pretty high budget video, so it probably looked legit, but no one was like, oh, it's a Stereos video. They didn't know who the fuck Stereos was.
Where did you guys shoot it?
Scarborough Bluffs.
No way, really? It does not look like the Bluffs.
It was cold, man. So the episode aired on May 27th. I'll always remember that day. But
it was a Wednesday. I checked Wednesday, May.
Really? Okay, there you go. I didn't even remember that part. But when we
shot, which is an odd day to air a season finale of a show.
Oh my gosh, dude! Of course it was a Wednesday, because what I just told you, that Supermarket thing we did on Wednesdays.
You did that night.
We did one that night, and no one was there.
Oh.
Those while the episode was being aired, and I remember getting off stage and having a whole bunch of fucking text messages.
That's so sick.
And then my friend Rob, who's in the band with me, my best friend, we went to a band called Strung Out that night in Toronto, one of our favorite like skate punk bands, and people started recognizing us that night. And like 2 hours earlier, the episode had aired, and we're like, "What is going on?" Yeah, it's funny, like just not your average Wednesday, I guess.
Dude, that's so good for you guys, because like most people wouldn't sit around the TV watching the episode, just waiting for reactions, but like you guys were still out there playing and like trying to get traction.
Yeah, I don't think we enjoyed those Wednesday night things at all, to be honest with you.
No, but at least you were doing them.
We were, because we we're not going to tell our label we don't need to do this. And
especially Universal, I guess.
I'll be honest with you, we did not need to do it. And I think that's what made us such a good band, is we were so dialed in live. Like we didn't need these rehearsals. I don't blame them for being like, yeah, this is what we do with our new signings and stuff. But like,
yeah,
we were ready to go. We had been doing it for so long at that point.
Yeah. So with the music video, you say it was shot at Bluffs, which I think is hilarious. But I want to go over like this you for a couple years. The hair and the fashion. Where did that come from? Because like it was funny once you guys came back, and I saw the band. I'm like, no way, they have a different singer, and then I realized no, that's you. Like you look completely different.
Yeah. Man.
So where did the hair and the fashion come from?
I don't know, man. Like okay, so
MySpace, eh?
Yeah, dude.
Literally,
that's the lack of a better like term. Like we were on MySpace. We grew up on that era of like fashion core, we called it at the time. I don't know, like people call it emo now. But what people call emo now was not what we knew as emo.
No.
Emo kids, when it was like the new term, were kind of like, it was like almost like nerdy subsection of punk, but like
which would be like Tumblr in like 10 years ago. Those people would have been on Tumblr.
Maybe, yeah. Like Tumblr's even past my time. So like emo for us, it was like fashion core, it was like heavy band, screamo and things like that.
Yeah.
And so we had that look, but then I got so obsessed with hip hop and R&B when I was like right before we kind of moved to Toronto and got signed. And that obviously shaped our sound for at least the first album. And so then that's where the basketball jerseys and like sort of the hip hop influence in my style came in. But I always kept this like screamo hair. And so like for better or for worse, man, it made us so unbelievably recognizable.
Yes.
Good ways and bad ways. Like, I'm not lying. We got kicked out of malls because security couldn't handle the amount of like congestion that was like started by us just being there. Like I'd go shopping personally with my girlfriend, and so many people would stop for photos, which I always say yes to, that it would create this like congestion in the mall. And they'd be like, you guys got to go. Rob and I went to a Jays game one night, and we went in the bar area, like the 19+ area, and kids followed us in there. Same thing. They're like, you guys got to go. Like we're not set up for this. And so we were
insane.
Straight up famous because of this TV show.
Yeah.
I think the long black hair definitely made it that much more recognizable.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. This episode is brought to you by CG Electric. If there's one thing I'm not good at, I mean, one of many, it's dealing with any electrical at my house, besides maybe using a light switch. But that's where CG Electric comes in. Whether it be both residential or commercial, CG Electric is your go-to. You can find them on Google just by searching CG Electric, as well as Instagram at CG_electric_company. Again, find them on Google by searching CG Electric, and on Instagram at CG_electric_company. Let them know that Quinn sent you. I remember like when this song came out, like I said, I was grade 7 going into like the summer going into grade 8. I remember it literally on every radio station I used to listen to. It was like 92 Kiss, 99.9 Virgin Radio, 104.5 Chum, like, and they played it non-stop. So like right after the release, like obviously like you said, like even that night, it was like started to get crazy. The like next like week/months, what like happened with you guys? Like you guys were obviously planning your tour. You would have been coming out with your or prepping your album that came out a few months later. So like, what was that like those next little bit?
It was like a whirlwind, man. So we started getting bookings right away, which is not normal. Now I've learned like you get booked for summer festivals, man, at least 6 months out usually. Wow. And I know that was the case back then, but they were trying to just fit us in. So like as soon as the song popped off, our agents were getting calls right away. It's like, we want to like add them last minute and all this stuff. So a lot of shows, we ended up like in that same first summer, man, before our album ever even came out, we opened for Black Eyed Peas and we opened for Katy Perry, like Bud Stage. The other one was in Montreal, like huge.
That's so insane.
Dude, so insane.
And right, you can pick 2 bigger artists at the time to perform with.
Katy Perry, I don't think you like
that was like a couple. I think that was like maybe a year after like I Kissed a Girl came out, so she like blew up. And then obviously Black Eyed Peas,
probably 2 Black Eyed Peas at the time. Yeah, they were like big. So we were getting huge shows. We were working on the album. I'm trying like it basically became like work mode now, full time. And it was all we had ever, dude, shooting videos. Like we got sent to Miami to shoot a video for our second video, our second single. And it just life became full-time musicians, and it brought probably some of the best times of my life. And, you know, like it was a nonstop party.
That is so sick.
2 years.
So, then the second single was Turn It Up, right?
Second single was Throw Your Hands Up.
Oh, okay. Throw Your Hands Up. Yeah.
Turn It Up was the next one after.
Right. So then you guys had the album come out in October of that year.
Yep.
And then obviously, Throw Your Hands Up was on it. And then what was it? 4 months later, it was certified gold.
Yeah, I know the album went gold. I don't know how long it took.
I think it was January 2010. I read. So yeah, like literally 3 months later was 40,000 copies sold.
Yeah, that's
that's nuts. So and then you guys started touring in November of 2009, and then I saw, and we don't have to get into the band specifically, but just like the name at the time, the fact that you guys went on tour with Headley.
Oh right, yeah. So that was in 2010.
When about March, April 2010, and then with I think Phoebe Dobson,
River Drive, and Boys Like Girls.
That's so sweet.
Well, okay, so I'll say this. It was incredible for me as like, man, we all start as kids, right? And so we started playing NHL arenas on that tour. We started doing like the arena tour, you know, the full experience that is playing in an arena. And that is something that I will you know, you can never take from me. And like, that's where it starts hitting you, where it's like, man, I remember being, you know, a kid thinking about like just playing. Dude, again, we grew up in the punk rock scene. To me, it was to headline the Rev, which turned into Starlight in Edmonton. You know, I was like, oh God, what if we play there? And now we're playing arenas full on, and they all know your songs. They know every word to all your songs. And so that was amazing. And yeah, and you know what's funny though is like at that time, I get asked a lot how that tour was, and we didn't really, I don't know, again, for better or for worse, we didn't really hang out with the other bands. I didn't really see anything that other bands got up to. But the most fun we had on a tour, I would say, for me personally, was we did an American tour right before that.
Okay.
And nobody knew who we were, but we were already big in Canada. We kind of started making some money, and it was just like, and it was summer. It was May to, I don't even know, June, July, but it was like a month and a half in the States. And it was, dude, it was like summer vacation with your best friends. Like you're in a new city.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like you guys probably had more fun on that one because it was literally just your group of guys. And like, obviously with the other one, it was so many other names. It wasn't like, it was hard to focus on just you guys, right? And or for you guys just to focus on each other because there was so much else going on. I know you said you didn't really hang out with the rest of the group, but like it was still like that presence was there, or like that was just like around knowing that how many groups were together.
Yeah, and it was less about like the spotlight and more like just like some breathing room. Like in Canada, things were like so intense, right? Like at the venue, like obviously like just everywhere you go, people are recognizing you and things like that, which obviously, dude, is like the best thing in the world. So I'm not complaining about that. But then when you have this experience in Canada, you're big, and then you go in the States and you can just like, you're the cool band on the tour. Cause that's another thing, man, is that, you know, I joke about it now, but we were the band that the girlfriends would drag their boyfriends to. And like the guys weren't feeling us, right? It was all girls who loved us and like whatever. We go to the States, we're the fucking cool band where they're like, I've never heard of you guys. What is this? Like, and you know, we had the auto-tuned punk rock mixed sound and people were like blown away. They're like, you guys are the coolest band here. We'd play 6 songs a night and then we could go out and party in every city. You know what I mean? Because you're playing like a shorter set. And like, you can't really do that if you're doing a headlining set. You got to be, you know, healthy, ready to go. It takes a lot out of you. You're playing late. And so like, again, a long-winded way of describing it. But our American tour for me was just like, again, it was summer vacation and it was incredible.
That is so sick. Was there one city that like stands out among the rest for that tour?
Yeah, 100%. And it still does. It's one of my favorite places in the world is New Orleans, man.
Ooh,
I've never been there. And we first went there on tour and our guitar player, Rob, got like married in Vegas like a month before. So we never had a chance to do like a bachelor party. So we did it there. It was just one of the wildest and like best nights of my life for sure. And so I've gone to New Orleans now like 7 times. I love it.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's sick.
Damn. That is awesome. And that's a good place to basically have like an impromptu bachelor party.
It sure is. And the best part is that Rob was, because it was his bachelor party, he was given way too much to drink way too fast. And so he actually bailed on the party like an hour and a half in.
No.
Yeah.
I'm that guy with my friends. That's literally me. Like I start to drink like way too quick because it's not like, let's say I'm drinking, I'm like, nah, I'm not that drunk yet. Like it's taking too long. So then I drink more and then I'm like, yeah, I'm gone.
Buddy, that's exactly like I actually don't drink anymore. Neither does Rob, Miles. So like we're old now.
Really?
But,
like, you guys don't drink at all, like completely?
At all, man.
How long have you gone no drinking?
2 years for me, almost 4 years for Rob. Miles in our band has never had a drink. He's straight edge.
Whoa.
And so now like we still have like wine and I want to say vodka on our rider, and that's all for our drummer now. He gets
really?
Yeah.
Damn. What's like back when you guys were drinking, or even if it wasn't alcohol, what's been like the weirdest thing you guys have had on your rider?
Well, we always have socks on the rider. And so socks. And it sounds weird, but it actually is awesome because especially if you're on tour, you can only do laundry for so often.
True.
But then 2, it's a very good indicator of, and promoters, like a good promoter will actually bring this up to us. They'll say, I know what you're doing with the socks. And what it is if they have socks on the rider, you know that they've taken care of everything else on the rider because it's so small and like down the list that it's a good indicator if they're paying attention and got your full rider. Because that happens all the time. I'd say it's rare. More often than not, you don't get your full rider.
Did you guys come up with that on your own, the sock thing, or did you hear it from somebody else?
It was Aaron's idea, our drummer, man. I'd have to ask him. But it was genius. And I remember it back in the day. We'd always be stoked when we saw socks. We're like, hey, they took care of us tonight.
That's sick. So have you ever had anything on there that like you felt like, I mean, important might not be the right word, but like you guys really wanted it wasn't on there and you ever brought it up?
This is like such another classic indication. So when we first got a rider and our manager was like, guys, rider time, like you guys can do this. And we're like, oh my God, we get a rider. We started going nuts, man. So much alcohol. And like, I
Is
forget.
there a limit on like how much stuff you could ask for? I mean, I guess you could ask for whatever. It doesn't mean they're going to give it all to you.
You can ask for whatever, man. And if you're a big band, they better do it. Because like, here's the other thing. I think riders' vanity. It's not. You're usually not leaving the venue that day because your entire life is at the venue, or you're going to do radio interviews. Like, it's very quick. You need that rider to eat and survive off that the day.
Oh, so, true.
Honestly, is a pretty important thing. Now, I will say, so I think we had like Subway. I think we had a bunch of alcohol. We had all these like candy, and it took one tour for us to be like, this is dumb. You need your rider to be healthy food and stuff that you can actually like feel good about eating every day. Because if you're on tour, like, dude, other than days off, when you're playing a month, you maybe have 4 or 5 days off out of that month. So every other day, there's a high chance that your only like meals are going to come from that rider.
It's on the rider. So
you don't want a ton of fucking bread and like booze and all that stuff, man. It's like, you want it to be a little bit better for you.
Could you change your rider depending on the venue?
No, you usually submit it in advance.
For the entire tour.
If it was a big deal halfway through the tour, you're like, yo, we got to fix this. You probably could.
Right.
But like the way the tour gets booked is all kind of at once and finalized, and then you announce it, right? Like it's months of work in advance.
True.
And so your agent is giving the rider as part of your booking because it's a sizable cost, right?
True.
To switch it up last minute would probably be a weird move.
It's funny when you were saying about the sock thing and they said like, hey, like we know what you're doing. I thought you're gonna make like saying like you guys were gonna be like jerking off with the socks or something.
No, man. I mean, I can't speak for the other guys.
Yeah, but you weren't. Tour bus. Just speaking of tour, like how crazy do those get? Like just like chilling on those for like weeks to like at least months or months on end.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool experience, man. But like the best part about the bus is that you wake up at the venue the next day. So
true.
You wake up and you're in Thunder Bay and you just did a 10-hour plus drive, whatever, and you don't know, no one has to worry about it.
Right.
So that is a benefit. I will say this. I personally, and maybe again, this is just like our punk rock roots or whatever, is on other tours, we would do van and hotels. And I prefer that because you do the long drives, which sucks, but you get a bed, you get showers every single day.
True. Is there not a shower on a tour bus?
Some have them, but like you're not using a lot of the water, especially when you're like with a bunch of other like people in the same space.
True.
So for me, I preferred the hotels and the van because then, it's 2 guys in a room as opposed to like whatever crew and like 10 plus people on the bus. Like I don't mind the bus, but yeah, I like the van and hotel a little bit.
Especially sharing a bathroom with that many guys.
Dude, exactly. It's just like, it's like you get day rooms. Usually, I'm trying to remember how often. Maybe once every 3-4 days, we'd get a day room where it's like one hotel room.
Yeah. And
that way you park the bus outside and everyone can kind of use the shower if you need it in that room and stuff like that.
Oh, true.
I don't know. I'm still more of a van and hotel.
Van hotel. Yeah, I would definitely be the same. So it was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, early winter, or sorry, I guess it'd be late winter, / spring 2011, you guys were going on your last tour around that time. Like it would have ended up being one of your last tours. And then Aaron broke his hand during the tour.
Yeah.
So how far in the tour did you guys get before he broke his hand?
Oh man, it's tough to say. I think it was towards the end. I think we'd done most of our West shows. Yeah. It's coming back to me. So I think we played most of our shows out West. Then we hit we didn't do BC though, because there was a gnarly like snowstorm. So we just did Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. Anyways, then we're doing the last leg of Ontario. I think we had maybe 2-3 shows left. And then he broke his finger. I think it was just a finger.
How did he break it?
I don't even know, man. No, it was during our set. Like, so I don't know like what he did. If it was a cymbal, a stick, it was hitting. I remember it was like towards the end of our set. So it was good timing for that set. But we couldn't do an encore, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And then, we had to like cancel a couple shows, I want to say. And then thankfully he healed up in time. Then we had our East Coast shows on a separate leg. And East Coast shows always go off. So we were still able to do those.
That's sweet. So then after the East Coast shows, you guys take a break. You guys break up, right?
We broke up like early 2012.
And why did you guys? What happened? What was it? Was it like problems between you guys, or just like as a band collectively, you said like we need to take a break?
Man, it's tough to have just one answer for that. It's one thing like I do regret, because I think we started to feel tension. So if you work backwards, our second album didn't do as well as the first, for a million reasons. It was rushed. It shouldn't have come out when it did. The label wanted to like push something out quickly. And then when stuff starts not doing as well, inherently there's a trickle down. You start feeling it from, maybe they don't say it from the label, but there's just like the way they're talking is different. Your manager talks to you different. Then you talk to each other different.
Because you guys are also stressed out as well too.
Yeah, man. And we all have egos too. And so you start thinking, well, I didn't do this wrong. Who did it wrong? And blah, blah, blah. And so to answer your question, man, I think the industry got us to a point where we just weren't happy. And like, it's just such a like, it's such a tough thing to quantify what's happiness, but I just think we were just not happy. And so what we should have done, in my opinion, is taken a break, gone on vacation. We had money. We could have just done other things and then come back, but we didn't. We broke up. We're saying different. And so Rob, Dan, and I, who started Stereos, started our own other band. And we thought, let's get back to our roots, man. Let's do something like just the three of us. And I think it was premature. I don't think it was the right call.
Yeah.
And, Stereos was not a band as a result for like 8 years because of that.
That's insane. So when you guys broke up, you all said to each other, this is like, as far as you guys knew, it was it for good.
Yep, that was it.
We would never hear from the Stereos again.
Yeah, and there's a few years there where I even thought like, I was almost embarrassed about saying like Stereos. I was like, oh yeah, that boy band, like almost as though it was
way
silly thing. And which is so crazy to me now, because I'm so fucking proud of that band. And the fact that like, obviously I'm jumping time wise, but now I'm still able to do it and in a meaningful way because of what those songs either meant to people or still like do mean to people. And so, yeah, it was a very weird time, man. And I would say like, that is the music industry, and it'll get you if you're not careful. And it got
when you guys came out with the second album, and then also towards the end before you guys broke up, was it still Universal you were with?
Yep. Yeah.
You were so that whole time you were with Universal.
Yes.
Okay, got you. So is that a conversation you have to have with them, and like you have to say, hey, just so you guys know, like we're done now?
Yes and no. So the way it went down is we had already, it's so like complicated. Basically though, when you sign your first deal, right, we got an option, I think a 5-album deal. And what that means is in that first deal, it spells out the terms for every subsequent album. Now, if I'm going to try and make this simple and easy to follow, first album does well. So we triggered the second album. We get all the terms laid out in the first. Second album doesn't do well. So then they come back to the table and say, we don't want to give you what we said we were going to give you for a third album. We want to renegotiate because, the band stock isn't what the band stock was when we first signed you. And so what we said, and we'd already had a lawyer kind of like helping us through this process. And they're saying, you can take that, you can negotiate, or you can say, no, we want that third album one you signed for, or we're free agents. And that's what we did because we knew they were going to say no. But so then by the time, and then we started a completely brand new band.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's weird. I was going to say that doesn't sound like something that they're allowed really to do.
They can ask you to renegotiate. It's like, think about sports, man, where they can say, listen, your play is completely fallen off. If you want to stay with this team to make it work with the cap, you got to take less. And a lot of guys say, I'm not taking less, and they want to get cut so they can be a free agent.
Yeah.
And so honestly, it's the exact same thing.
Interesting. Okay. So when you guys started the new band, was it literally like, what was the time frame between being done with Stereos? Because you said it was quick.
Well, we were already, we're kind of behind the scenes planning on having this new band. So when we broke up with Stereos in 2012, I think we at first maybe entertained the idea that the three of us would still be Stereos, but just with like only the three of us and probably a new sound. And then quickly we found a label who was interested. And I have a lot of, gratitude for the guy who ran the label, Jonathan at 604. He's kind of he's an interesting character. Anyways, he helped us be like, listen, it's going to be a new band, new sound. and I'll help you get off your deal with Universal. And he did.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was the band called?
It's called I-65. We recorded a full album, and only 2 songs were ever released. It didn't do anything. Yeah.
So the other ones will never see light of day, I'm assuming?
Oh, I would be surprised.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised. There's some good stuff there, but yeah, I doubt
How long was that band together?
A year and a half, maybe 2 years. Maybe. I would be surprised.
Okay. So then from let's say 2014 or 2015. From 2015 until you guys announcing your 10-year reunion show in 2019, what were you doing?
Holy fuck, dude. Was
it a lot of nothing or a lot of just doing stuff?
Dude, I got married. I was settling down. I went back to school for HR, which is insane to me because I'm the last person who likes. Dude, I'm thankful for the opportunity because I got a job at a very good company, great benefits, a healthcare company. But then you'd sit down at the table and people are like, oh, HR's here, can't tell jokes. They were joking with me, we got along. But then in my head, I'm like, holy fuck. If you only knew, I don't care about bad jokes. You know what I mean? I'm just not.
I'm this guy now?
Yeah. And it was just I was kind of not chasing, but it felt inevitable that now I need to grow up, move on, get security, get the settle down, have a family. And all those things are such incredible things if that's what you really want. Holy shit, though, dude. That's not what I want.
No.
And so, it took, honestly, it was the reunion shows. I remember planning that reunion show from the cubicle I was working HR in. And it was you're only going to get your 10-year, that date is only going to come once. You can't, if you miss it, then it's 11 years and that's a dumb number.
No.
So we gotta do this. And when we did the reunion show, I was still working HR and it sold out. And then I came back to Edmonton. We did an Edmonton reunion.
That one sold out too.
That one sold out too. And I was like, all right, we got to do this. There's something here.
When you're doing HR, would you ever have people that would come up to you and be like, oh my God, I used to love stereo so much, anything like that?
A couple. I never ever would tell anyone about it.
That's what you said. Yeah. Because you were saying that you were embarrassed. You didn't want
to
talk about it.
I was less embarrassed, but at that point, I had worked different jobs and stuff, man. And then I would see I was working a job at one point selling suits, expensive suits, and the guys there working there were younger than me, but they were so cool. I was like, these guys rule. And then when they found out about the band, they're like, oh my God, dude, you were the best. We jammed you at every party. We loved you. I was like, what? I didn't know cool people liked us.
Yeah.
And then it turns out and then I started feeling a little bit better about what stereos was to people.
So when you're sitting in the cubicle, you're like, okay, like what you said, this is only going to come by one time. It has to happen then. Were you already in contact with the rest of the guys? Or all along, were you all guys always maybe, or it could happen?
So Dan, Rob, and I, again, the 3 of us that started the band have always been best friends. So even in that period, we were all super tight. We were in I-65 together. Then when there was no music, we were still best friends. We'd still hang out. And so we were always kind of brainstorming, and I knew it wasn't going to take much convincing for the other guys. Just because why not? And so, man, once it became a possibility to do this reunion show, I started doing all the work I had for the week on Monday. And then Tuesday through Friday, I would spend my entire time hiding my phone and just planning this show. I was not doing massive time theft.
That's hilarious. So, it's funny because from when you guys broke up to when you came back, a lot of things changed social media wise. So when you guys announced that March saying hey, we're going to be coming back and we're going to be first performing in the Rec Room, then we're going to be in Edmonton, did you guys have to create a new Instagram and all that stuff, or did you guys have to stay in the old one? And when you announced it, what was it like? People say, holy shit, they're back.
Yeah, it was a great response when we announced it. But good question, man. Pretty sure we had an Instagram, but I don't know who was running it.
You're just lying around.
Yeah, maybe Miles, our guitar player. He's really good at the social media stuff. Also, Miles, I don't think that guy ever felt the way I felt about it, being embarrassed about the band. I think he always he knew what we had created. And so Miles he's a real one. He always had that. I think he was probably waiting for us to call him. I don't think he took any convincing with that. So he probably was doing the social media, but good question, man. I don't even know Twitter, whatever, Spotify. I don't even know.
Yeah, exactly. It's I'm not even joking. It's when people come out of jail and life's different. That's literally how it was for you guys. when you guys were out promoting on MySpace and stuff compared to when you came back, everything was so different.
100% different, man. Like platforms that didn't exist.
Snapchat might wasn't even a thing when you guys were done.
100%. Dude, when Instagram
weird.
started, I think it was already like towards the end of stereos. Like it's weird time we were around.
Vine had come and gone that during that span.
100%, yeah.
That's so sweet. This episode is brought to you by Douglas Works. Douglas Works is a full-service lawn, landscape, and property maintenance company. From lawn care to landscape design and install to gardens, tree removal, excavating, grading, junk removal, window cleaning, and so much more. Almost anything outside, they've got you covered. As the leaves turn, they're gearing up for fall cleanups and snow removal. You can call, text, or email to book your call service today. That's 705-868-1981 or douglasworks87@gmail.com. Once again, you can call, text, or email to book your call services. 705-868-1981 or douglasworks87@gmail.com. So that show at the Rec Room first, like what was that like? Just the feeling of being back up there with all the guys. Like, were you nervous that like? I know you guys got good reaction online, but like, and it sold out. But like, other like fans that weren't going, were you guys scared of getting like a reaction that like it wasn't going to be like the same?
No, man, I don't think we thought about any of that. Like we were fully prepared that 200 people might show up. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like we had any expectations. It was more for ourselves, man, because we went out so abruptly. We went out without warning. We went out with some, like, I would say some hard feelings between different members because not everyone wanted to even break up. You know what I mean? And so this was more for us, honestly, than anyone else to be like, let's get back together and go out on our own like terms. Like you never know what this is going to, what'll happen. And so I don't think I had any worry about anything. And then I've always said, like, when you find out a show is sold out before the show happens, you already know it's going to be a good show. It's impossible.
You're already fired up.
Yeah. Like everyone is there to see you and they're excited about it. And you don't have to worry about playing to a half full room. You know, you already know this is going to be a good one. And
the Rec Room's a good place to go because I love that place. That's sick.
It was a good venue. I actually really liked it.
Yeah. And then, the span between doing the Toronto show and then doing the Edmonton, it was like, I think about 2 months. What did you guys do in that time from May to August? Band wise, were you guys writing songs and recording songs and stuff?
I started writing, but I don't know if I had even sent anything to the band yet. The first song I started writing after, I think it was after Edmonton even, was this song called Sunset Gold, which was the first one we put out as a new band. And so, I think it took the second show to kickstart me being like, okay, I'm doing this again. And
we're back. And then, so I think it was October, you guys said, hey, we're coming back. So when you guys did the shows, the reunion ones, was it already planned? Hey, we are going to come back, like between you guys, like you knew? No, it was just going to be the reunion shows. That was it.
Yeah. It wasn't until after Edmonton, the second one.
True.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Was it one of you that brought up, hey, like maybe we should just come back? Or was like, as a group, we're like, no, we know.
I don't know. Like I'd be lying if I said I wasn't probably already planning it in my head to come back.
In the cubicle.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So, it was probably me, but I honestly don't remember. Also, like before that, Rob and myself with some other guys from Edmonton started a pop punk band. And so we'd already started like playing music again. And it was a lot of fun, but it was like really, really small crowds. Like, you know what I mean? And so that's where I was like, okay, I know I love playing music, but I'm not going to lie. I don't like playing to no one. I don't like playing like, you know, super small venues where no one shows up. So I was like, okay, there's a solution here. I have a band that can play to a lot of people.
It's funny that you mentioned like playing to small people or small groups, because comedians, when they have new jokes, they go to random places that people that might not have heard of practice their jokes. So I was always going to ask, but I guess the answer is no. Is for musicians, you specifically like going to like a smaller venue and trying new music. Is that a weird concept?
Not at all. I think that's very similar to what I was describing with you at the supermarket in Toronto when we were on those Wednesdays. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that was more for, I think it's less about trying how new songs are going to be received and more about just practicing the live show.
True.
important.
And like honestly, how you're gonna do a live show, because obviously like the performance itself is one of the most important parts, right? So like
Oh yeah,
you can put on a completely different performance from one show to another with the same music, right?
100%. Yeah,
So
totally.
yeah, that's sweet. So coming out with the music in early 2020, I mean, one, it was a big deal you guys were coming out with new music again. Two, a global pandemic happened. Right around ish. Like I think it was like
Two
yeah.
weeks later, everything got locked down.
Right. So what was that like for you guys? Because I'm sure you were already planning shows and everything.
It was really tough, man. I won't lie.
Yeah.
It was really tough
Yeah.
because we felt like we had got all this momentum. We started getting like radio ads right away, and it felt like we were going to be able to kind of just like jump right back in where we left off. And of course, that was not the case. And the next 2 years, man, everything. And that's where like I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, like we started this, let's say 2020, essentially with that song, and it's 2023 and a bit now. That's 3 years that we've been back, and 2 of them were a pandemic where there were no shows and we couldn't do anything. Like, holy shit, we've been able to accomplish quite a bit in that amount of time.
That's insane. It literally just shows like how much your fans like never really left.
You're totally right, man. And a lot of it comes down to Stereo's fans. And like,
So sweet.
they are wild, man. They believed in this band more than we did, 100%, especially like in those years where we were gone. And when we did those reunion shows, and now when we do shows, man, it's beautiful. Like you see, we talked to so many people who are just like kids, you know, they were junior high kids, and they'll say like they had no friends, but then they met friends from Stereo shows that they would go to in junior high, and now they're each other's like godparents for their kids. And like, dude, it's messed up like how much this band meant to people. And I had no idea, because for whatever reason, this thing that we built and worked so hard to build, we let it go. And you know, all I can do now is try and never let that happen again. But it's beautiful, man. I love what
awesome
fan base has done for us, for sure.
I was talking with my fiance earlier about how I was going to be talking to you tonight, and I was showing her some like your guys' new music, and I showed her "Glory Days." That has to be one of my favorite songs of yours.
Nice.
I love it, and I love the music video. The music video is really cool because it's so simple.
So simple, man, and that's exactly how we wanted it. Like just like the song itself is simple,
Yeah,
and the song itself makes fun of ourselves in a way where basically it's about us. Oh, man. If you ask any girlfriend we've ever had, any significant other in any way, when we're all back together in the same room, even in the years where there was no Stereos was not a band, we are so annoying because all we do is talk about, oh, remember that time you did this and that city. And then Rob has this crazy memory. He's like, no, it was actually that city. But then the next day we did this. Like he remembers everything. And it's so annoying. So we're basically making fun of ourselves, like reliving our glory days. But it's like, man, that's awesome. And I love it. And so I love that song. I'm glad you like it too.
All right, well, so we're gonna fast forward obviously to today. So as of like right now, Stereos is still obviously releasing new music and stuff. So like tour wise, music wise, the next like months to like let's say year, what's your guys' plan? Like what's going on?
A lot of music and a lot of collaborations. I'm kind of realizing how it works nowadays, especially with the way Spotify works. Getting collabs together to kind of put stuff out to different fan bases is kind of the move. And so we're working on some collaborations right now, which I'm really excited about. And honestly, that's like, especially in like the hip hop world, that's how they've always done it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of new music. And then, you know, I would say like just we're trying to get more and more shows all the time. And so, you know, hopefully next summer's a busy one, but in the interim, I think, you know, the one way to make winter less shitty for me is to just create. And so hopefully recording more, but we're already working on some new stuff too. So new music.
You couldn't pick a better place to stay, just secluded in your room, seeing as it's freezing outside and just sitting there and just writing. Cause those Edmonton winters aren't a joke.
I love Edmonton. I will defend it. Like I moved away, obviously when we moved to Toronto. I've lived in Calgary. I've lived in like nice cities and with a lot going on. And I still to this day, I love Edmonton, but the winters fucking suck.
Yeah.
And it's more every year. Like I don't get used to it. I hate it.
Would you guys ever consider like moving somewhere else for good? Or do you think like Edmonton's that's it?
Maybe. I don't know, man. I'm like, so 2 of our members still live in Toronto. It's just 2 of us out here, 2 in Toronto.
Weird. So how do you guys have to schedule obviously recordings a lot far ahead of time?
Oh yeah. And like we rehearse now, I would say 2-3 times a year when we all get together. Like we know a lot of those old songs. If there's new ones, we got to learn them. But
True.
we're pros. So we've been able to kind of pick it up with just like a few rehearsals here and there. But ideally we get busier and busier, and then there will be more rehearsals, more live shows, and everything
Awesome.
like that.
Before I let you go, one more thing. Have you ever had like I'm sure you have, but one specific time where do you ever go blank and like forget a lyric or like lyrics at all?
Dude, yeah.
All
And
the
like
time?
I did it once in the biggest spot you could ever do it. And so I'll tell this story. We did a tour. So the American tour I was telling you about. We were opening for Jeffree Star.
No
And
way.
yeah, dude, he's like a makeup influencer. He was actually fucking cool. He was very nice to us. And he had some sort of connection to Akon, I want to say. He was like going to sign to Con Live. Maybe he even did. I don't know. But for whatever reason, Akon found out about us. And so our bassist, Dan, gets a phone call one day from Akon. And he's like, hey, I love your album. I want to bring you guys down. And Dan's like, yeah, right. He's like, no. Like, I just want to have permission from the band. Can I talk to Randy Lennox, who was the head of Universal Canada at that time? And we're like, sure. And it was legit. And that call happened. And 1 week later, we're in LA about to play for Akon to like sign to Con Live. And we did it. And the cliche is LA traffic, right? So all of our gear gets stuck in LA traffic. So we have none of the stuff we usually have, whether it be like our samples, because we play obviously to like a bunch of keyboards and stuff. So we got to raw dog this, dude, like just guitar, bass, drums, vocals, and it's going well. And then the song Body Move, we're playing that one, and I just fucked up the timing. And instead of saying, I want to see that body move, I say, bah, like a fucking sheep. And then the band kind of comes in clumsily. So I fucked up. He still said, he's at the end of it, he's like, yeah, there's a little mess up there, but welcome to the Con Live family, which was sick. Just like everything else in music, it didn't happen because of politics and record deals and stuff. But I forgot a big lyric in a big spot. Yeah, it screwed me up.
I would think that's probably not what did it, but I like how he brought it up, too. Of course, he had to mention it.
Oh, dude, like I don't blame him at all. It
Yeah.
was pretty conspicuous. Yeah,
that's hilarious. Well, Pat, I just really want to thank you for coming on here. It was really cool. The grade 7 in me is fired up that I was able to talk to you. The 27-year-old is fired up I was able to talk to you. So I really appreciate you coming on here. And it's been awesome.
Man, thank you so much for pumping my tires a little bit. Makes me feel good about myself. And if we ever play close to you, we'll let me know. We'll toss you on guest list. Have you on.
I appreciate that. All right, Pat, I'll talk to you later.
Oh, man. Peace.
And that was the Quinn Marr Show.